Good morning and welcome to Dave's Delights. I'm Dave, and as always, I'm delighted to have you here with me. Today, we're going to do something that's a little bit different because it is definitely morning. We're going to do braised pork ribs, so baby back ribs. And that's something that takes a long time to cook, so we're going to have to start early to make sure that we can have everything ready by dinner time. Now, through the magic of editing, you guys don't have to wait all day, but I will. So right now, we're going to start off with the ribs themselves. Now I'm going to do multiple racks, but I'm going to show you the one rack and then I'll take care of the rest on the side so the video isn't ridiculously long. So I need to get a sheet of aluminum foil out here, and it's got to be a little bit bigger than my rack of ribs because we're going to use this aluminum foil the whole way through. So I got this from my butcher and they've trimmed it pretty much already. There's a little bit of fat left, but that's going to render out. And I got the ribs, this rack of ribs on, and I can see I've got room on either side of my aluminum foil. And now I need to take a rub, because I'm going to do a dry rub on these and then let them sit in the fridge for a while. Now, you can get rubs in the store. You can make rubs, and I'm going to leave in a recipe for a basic rub, dry rub that you can make with the stuff that's probably in your spice cabinet. But you can also feel free to get adventurous. This one in particular is a rub that my wife brought me back from the Heartland. So this, I'm not going to name the brand, but it's a pretty famous pork rib rub. So I'm going to give this a try today because I've been itching to try it. And you take big handfuls of it, and we're going to spread it over the rib. I'm just trying to get full coverage, and a little bit extra on the sides doesn't matter too, because this is going to sit and soak in its own juices and flavor up, and get the end cap, and then we're going to flip it over. Get this underside too. Give it a good wipe down. And then up along these bones. And once you got that done, I'm going to set it with the the rib side up. So the meat side is down, the rib side is up, just because that allows the curve to be more natural for what I'm about to do. I'm going to bring this side up and bring this side up to meet each other. Now I've got the rib balanced inside there, and I'm going to give this a fold on the top, all the way across. Once I've got that folded tight, I'm going to put up the one side, and I'm going to be a little more careful with this other side because I'm going to need this later. So I want to make sure that stays as a tube, but I'm still going to turn that up. And then I've got a baking sheet that I've put another piece of foil on just for drips later. Rib goes on. I can fit 2 of these racks per baking sheet, and since I'm going to do 4 racks today, I'll end up using 2 baking sheets. So you want to make sure that you have your rack set up in the oven to be able to accommodate 2 cookie sheets. So I'm going to finish up the rest of these, and then they're going to sit for about a half an hour at least. But I'm going to let them go for an hour in the refrigerator just to let that rub do its job. And I will see you when we're done with that, and we are ready to move on to the next step. See you then. Okay, it's been a little while, and our ribs have had their rest in the refrigerator, and all that goodness from the rub has worked its way into the meat. So what we need to do now is we need to make the braising liquid. We're going to start off with a cup of a white wine. Pick whatever white wine you like. And then I'm going to add to that a 1/4 cup of sweet mead, honey mead. And this one in particular happens to be Duck Pond Wines, the Bee's Knees, made by me last May. So this is my own mead that I've made myself. And then you want to add in 2 tablespoons of agave nectar. Now you could use honey as well, but I think that I like agave nectar for this better because it does dissolve in water a lot, in the liquids a lot easier without me having to microwave the whole thing. Honey, if you want to use it, which you can, you're going to need to throw this in the microwave for a couple seconds to get it all liquefied. But since I'm putting the honey mead in, you should be getting all that flavor without needing the actual honey. And then we're going to add in 2 cloves of garlic, 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. What kind of sauce is that? Hard to say. And then 2 tablespoons of white wine vinegar. And we're going to stir all that together real well so that it's combined. Like I said, if you were using the honey method or anything, if there's big chunks of your sweetener down at the bottom, feel free to put that in the microwave, and you can do it that way to get it ready to go. But you want it to be fully liquid. Now we have one of our packs of ribs in here, and I'm going to do this with all 3, just not on camera. I'm going to get the spout open here. And I need to get about 1/3 of this in, because this has to split between everybody. So I'm going to use my magic stirring chopstick to get the garlic suspended. There's 1/3. And now I'm going to just let that go that way down into the water. Let the water go down into the rest of the rib pack. And you will find that there are going to be little holes and cracks and stuff where liquid might get through. If you're lucky, you won't have any, but that's why I foil the pan as well. So now my 250-degree oven is ready. Oh, by the way, you want to have your oven at 250 degrees because ribs we're going to do low and slow. So my 250-degree oven is ready. I'm going to get all these ready to go, and they're going to go in, and I'm going to leave them in there for 4 hours. Really slow braising, and we're going to get it so that they fall apart when they're, they fall off the bone, ready to go once they come out of the oven. So I'm going to go do that, and we will catch you back for the next step. So while we're waiting for the ribs to cook, and right now we're about halfway through, I'm going to set up what we're going to have as our side, which are these Squashkes we talked about in a previous recipe. Today I'm going to actually show you how we make them. You start off with a summer squash, like this, or a zucchini, or a yellow squash, whichever one you can get your hands on. These happen to be the ones that grow in my garden. We take that, and I'm going to peel it, cut it up, and get the seeds out of it, and then I'm going to shred it. So I cut it into big sections, and I use a grater or a shredder and shred it down. And I get 4 cups of this shredded squash, and that goes in. And 1 yellow onion, shredded really fine. So these are like little slices where I slice it super thin, so that will match up with the zucchini. And remember, wash your hands, especially for this. This is a very handsy recipe here. 3 eggs, a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of pepper, if that wants to get in. There we go. Now I'm going to start off with a large spoon, just kind of getting this all mixed together, getting the eggs broken up. And the goal, and it's really difficult to do this right-handed when I'm a lefty, but we figure it out. Better that than you see the front of my hand the whole time. And now I've got 3/4 of a cup of flour, which I'm not going to put in all at once. I'm going to put some in and stir it up, because every day the humidity might be different, and we're trying to get good coverage where this is all completely covered with flour, and then it'll have time to hydrate while it rests in the refrigerator for half an hour. So right now we're probably at about 1/2 cup. And it's getting there. You want to make sure everything's mixed together, because this is going to be your pancake. This is your pancake batter right here. All right, for me today it's going to be the full 3/4. Now, if you were doing this as a normal potato pancake, you would have to get this, get this thing mixed up really quickly so that the potatoes don't turn black. But luckily, these squash don't oxidize like that, so you don't have to add lemon juice or apple cider vinegar or anything like that to try to keep it from turning brown on you. But as soon as you get this and see how that's all nice and You know, it's got that nice coating of flour and it's really liquefying. We want it to be like a thick paste for now. And then that's going to go, it's going to get a cover on it, and that's going to go into the refrigerator for at least 30 minutes. But we are about an hour out, so it's probably going to go in for 45 minutes. And then I pull it out 15 minutes before I'm ready to cook, so we can kind of start coming back up to room temperature. And from there, we're going to move on to the next step. So this is going to go in the refrigerator, and I will see you guys back in a moment, your time, for the next step. The ribs are now out of the oven, and we have the braising liquid still inside, so what we got to do is we've got to recover that. So I'm going to get my gloves on here so I don't burn myself to pieces. And you take the bag, and you tilt it up into a saucepan. I'm going to go at that low point there and just break it open enough so that I can then let out all the good goo. And you can see it's already thickened quite a bit. And that's looking halfway to barbecue sauce already. And once you get that out, now you're ready, and this ends up being a much too large a pot, but I wanted to make sure I had enough in case these were really juicy. We're going to take that, put it in the appropriate size pot, and then I'm going to reduce it by half so that it becomes more like a barbecue sauce that I'm then going to brush over the top of these ribs for their final stage, which is going to be in the broiler. But right now we're at 4 hours. So these can rest, and cool down a little bit while you're preparing the rest of your parts. The next thing we're going to be working on is frying up the Squashkes, and from there we will plate. We are back, and what this cast iron skillet full of hot oil tells you is it's time for us to fry some Squashkes. We have the batter here. We definitely, that 3/4 cup of flour was enough. This was apparently a very, very juicy piece of squash. So I'm going to take a spoon, and remember, liquid into oil, you want to be really careful so you don't splatter yourself. Get a spoonful of the batter, and that drops in. And I'm going to make 4 of them right here. And here is number 4. Now we have to let these fry until they become golden brown along the edges. Then we'll flip them and go again until they're looking perfectly golden brown, like a crispy tater tot. If you go too far, they'll blacken, and if they're not far enough, you'll know they'll still feel kind of raw in the middle. So we're gonna have to let these fry. It's probably gonna take 4 to 5 minutes, depends on the individual situation here, but I would say a good 5 minutes is a good estimate. We'll see you back in a couple. And here we go. You can see it is starting to turn golden brown at the edges. So we're going to give this a flip. All 4 of them. And you can see they're starting to be done on this half. So now we got to do the same thing again. So another minute or 2. Just keep an eye on it. If it starts looking like it's getting too dark on the edges, pull them out. And give them a little tap once in a while. See if they're starting to feel like they're solid all the way through. And we will see you once these are ready to pull. All right, look how golden brown these are. They are ready to come out. So here comes 1. And 2. and 3, and 4. So this batch that I did with the 4 cups of squash should probably yield me 12 to 14 of those. So I'm going to finish off taking care of the rest, and we're going to switch over to the next workstation and do our final step before dinner. The very last step we have to do before we plate is we've got to sauce the top of these ribs. We've got some barbecue sauce here. This particular batch didn't yield me enough liquid to make my own. So fortunately, I always keep some with me. This one happens to be a competition brand. It's like a local brand that they use for barbecue competitions. So it's almost like cheating. But if you can make your own, you can go ahead and do that. You can take any one you like from the store. We're just topping this. It's already had most of its flavor baked in. This is just to give it that final ribbiness. So I'm going to just paint on some of this sauce. And then this is going to go into the broiler. And we're not really having to cook this anymore. We're just going to go right before we plate, put it in 3 or 4 minutes. Just watch the sauce while it's happening. Make sure you want it to start bubbling, but you don't want it to burn. So we're just trying to kind of cook this barbecue sauce in without burning it. So this is all ready to go. And we are going to put that in the broiler, and we will be ready to plate when we get back. Welcome back. And the ribs are out of the broiler, and as you can see, and I'm not going to be dumb and use my fingers to pick this up. Let's show you. They've got a nice sheen to them. They got a nice glaze, and they are looking just ready to plate. So we're going to break these up now, at least enough for me to plate my plate here. And I'm going to go 1 rib, 2 ribs. 2 ribs in. And I'll put that on the platter. And with that, I have, wash your hands. I've got the ribs. I've got my Squashkes. And boop, I also have a salad. So this is now meal ready for eating. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I really hope you try these. And by all means, take whatever kind of rubs and whatever kind of sauces you like. Sky's the limit. Let me know how it goes, too. Send me a comment. Remember to hit like and subscribe, and I hope to see you again soon. Have a great evening.